The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black Today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gulbransen and Matt Gutierrez.
Happy Championship Sunday, Raider Nation. Although the Raiders aren't playing for a chance at the Super Bowl, 4 teams are. And the big game is just 2 weeks away. Welcome back to Las Vegas's only all Raiders, all the time sports radio show. We're coming to you live from the Dollar Loan Center, don'tbebroke.com studios. I'm Scott Gulbransen, founder and publisher of silverandblacktoday.com. Today, joined by my co-host, Matt Gutierrez. Matt, you ready for some championship games today, brother?
I'm still coming down off that high from last night, man. That game was fun.
So it was a busy sports night in Las Vegas, and you were part of it. I know you went to 2 of the 3, right? So you went to UNLV game and the Golden Knights game, a big, huge 7-3 win for the Golden Knights. But, man, it was you had a busy day.
Dude, that's what Vegas, and just imagine now if you rolled in a Sunday afternoon game. Let's not say it's Championship Sunday, just early in the season when you have basketball going and you have hockey going. Throw the boxing match in last night with Pacquiao and Broner, and this is all a mile and a half from each other. And now throw the Raiders game in on a Sunday afternoon. Man, what has Vegas become? It's just such a sports destination now.
Yes, it has joined the upper echelon cities and will continue to as we see everything grow. But yeah, huge night last night. And like you said, when the Raiders get here, it's going to be even bigger. Reminder, we are streaming today's show worldwide on the radio.com app. If you don't have that, make sure you go get it. You can listen to not only our station, but stations all over the country, including some of the best sports stations in the country as well. So make sure you do that. We also stream the show via live video. That's right. You can peek in on us on the YouTube channel for silverandblacktoday.com and also Facebook Live. We're also on Periscope, so if you're on Twitter, you can watch us there as well, if that's the smaller screen you prefer. So you can come into the studio, see what's going on, see what we're up to, and check it out. As always, check out our website, silverandblacktoday.com. Stories this week on the Raiders rolling back PSL prices. That's right. Imagine that, an NFL team making it more affordable for fans. And our senior NFL analyst, Chris Raide, has started a special series of his popular The Breakdown pieces focusing on possible Raiders draft picks. So make sure you head over to silverandblacktoday.com. All right, let's get things moving here now as we check out today's show. In the first hour, we'll talk about the Raiders' third big milestone in their move to Las Vegas. And that, of course, was the team holding the groundbreaking for their new headquarters and training facility in nearby Henderson. And Silver and Black Today was there. We'll bring you what was said and talk about the impact of that complex on Henderson and what the facility will be like. Also this hour, we go live to New Orleans, site of today's NFC Championship game, where we dial up Vinny Bonsignore of the Athletic Los Angeles on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line. Vinny will give us the latest on this matchup between the Rams and the Saints in the Big Easy. Will Drew Brees best Todd Gurley, Aaron Donald, and the Rams? We'll get a preview live from Vinny over there. In addition to that, we'll close out the hour with a little Raiders draft talk. That's right. We'll talk about mock drafts and kind of how where that's been updated since last week's deadline for college players to file their 2019 NFL draft eligibility. We'll review the latest projections for the Raiders and discuss the possibilities. Will the team go all defense in the first round like I think they should? Or could Gruden, Mayock, and company surprise Raider Nation once again? We shall see. The second hour starts with a live report from Kansas City, where sister station 610 Sports host Sean the Sports Machine Levine, that's a great nickname, will be our guest on the attorney Michael Troiano newsmaker line from the chilly Midwest, although not as chilly as they thought. Can Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs put an end to the Patriots' dynasty under the maybe snowy skies of Arrowhead Stadium? Or does Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, Matt, do they have one more run in them to get to Atlanta?
I hate the fact that I have to cheer for Kansas City. I really do. Well, and I'm not cheering for Kansas City.
Understood.
I'm cheering against New England.
Yeah.
That's what this comes down to. I'm not rooting for Kansas City to win. I'm actively rooting for New England to lose. I'm sick and tired of seeing them in the Super Bowl.
I mean, everybody except...
And this goes back to, and we'll get into it later on today,
yes, we
but
will.
I'm tired of seeing them. I think everybody's tired of seeing them outside of their little New England pocket and their front-runner bandwagon fans that have never seen a bad season from this team and don't understand what that means.
That's right, and they will have the entire nation pretty much rallying against them. But
the
Sean,
Raider Nation.
Yes, add that too. But I'll talk about that too because I've had some interesting comments over the last few days when we were promoting the show. But Sean will be here to chat with us. Also in the second hour, we get back to Raiders Talk with Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, longtime sports talk dean in San Diego, where he'll get us up to speed. And the reason we're having him on, former Chargers GM A.J. Smith, who's been rumored to be joining the Raiders front office staff. Lee covered A.J. Smith for 9 seasons and will tell us what the Raiders are going to get into if they sign the retired former executive. Hacksaw will also have his take on today's game, but that was a little bit of interesting Raider news about their front office, so we'll find out what that all means. We'll also have Matt's Audible, and today's Audible, folks, is going to really make you angry, right? It's going to fire you Raider fans up. It involves the Patriots, as Matt alluded to, and, well, stick around and for that after the bottom of the second hour, and we'll get into it. But I think it's going to be a pretty impassioned segment. We want your calls too, 702-889-5978. Not only in that segment, but also before. Listener Wally had mentioned that he wanted to call and that we didn't answer the phone. I don't know if he called before the show started or whatnot, but Wally, give us a call at 702-889-5978, and we'll get to your questions. Also, to close out the show, we have a little action, and that is a little betting action as we have Robert Walker, a good friend over at usbookmaking.com, will break down today's games and where you'd be best putting down your money. He'll also give us some early looks at Super Bowl 53 and what matchups may be good for the better. And we're going to have him on too, Matt, too, because a lot of people don't bet. Like you're not a game. You don't gamble.
Nope.
But a lot of people just do for the Super Bowl, right? Just for fun to make it interesting because their teams aren't in it and they want to do prop bets and all that.
It's a polarizing game, so people want to jump on that. It makes it more interesting, especially if you don't have a horse in the race. You just want to, have a little action on the side.
Exactly. So we're going to talk to Robert about that, Matt, and ask him kind of if you're not a bettor and you're looking at proposition bets, what should your approach be? So we'll close out the show with that. There you have it, Raider Nation. You're up to date. We've set topics on the table for you here on the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio. Now it's your turn. Pick up the phone. Get on the air. We'll take your call. 702-889-5978 is the number. So, Matt, we talked about the game, and it's funny. I had all these comments. We were promoting the show, and because we're talking to Vinny, we're talking to Sean from the 2 sites that are hosting the championship games. I got all these comments back about how dare you put a Chief on a Raider pro. I was like, and he's a good listener, but it's like, dude, we are not a fan club website.
Right.
We are a radio show, a journalistic radio show, and a website. We're covering the game.
Right.
Those players play in the game. So for those of you who get offended by that, I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
it's championship weekend.
Right. You got to talk about it.
The Patriots are going to be in Kansas City playing at Arrowhead. You want a picture of Derek Carr up there? I mean, what sense does that make? Honestly, it's. I get it. I mean, I hate both of these teams. I really can't stand either one of these teams, and that's built up from decades, right?
Oh,
but you got to root against somebody in this game. And I'm sorry, the Raiders aren't there. Hopefully next season they're a little bit closer, and by the time they get to Vegas, they're there. But right now they're not. It's the rival Chiefs and the hated Patriots.
Well, in the few minutes we have left in this segment, Matt, I did do we ran a poll on our Twitter handle, Silver Black, the number 2 day, about who people were going to root for today, because that is one of the difficult things, right, for Raider fans is you hate both these teams for obvious reasons. One's division rival, the other, as we'll talk about later, might have changed the trajectory of your entire franchise.
Might have.
Based on one play. So we'll talk about that too. But we asked the question, who would you root for today? So the poll was, who do you want to in the KC New England game today? The first choice was, it hurts, but the Chiefs. Second choice was, F the Chiefs, go Pats, which, of course, means forget the Chiefs. Not a
chance you would ever hear me say go Pats.
And then the third option was, I'm rooting for the NFC. So they're just opting out. So we, of course, the winner was, I'm rooting for the NFC, right. 59%. Second, followed by, it hurts, but the Chiefs. So that hatred of the Patriots kind of boiling up. And 15%, and you got to assume people following the handle, for the majority, 98% of them are Raiders fans.
Mm-hmm.
And 15% of them are rooting for the Pats. That's how much they hate their division rival. That's unbelievable.
Well, you know what? If you're a younger fan, maybe you don't quite have the hatred for the Patriots that a lot of other people do, or people of our age bracket. But it's more than just a Raider hatred for Tom Brady or the Patriots themselves. It's the monotony, man. Break it up. I mean, the AFC has been represented by either Peyton Manning and the Broncos/Colts or Tom Brady and the Patriots almost exclusively for the last going on 17 years now.
Yeah.
Throw in Rich Gannon in Super Bowl 37. Throw in Joe Flacco. One time? Who else? Who else from the AFC has been there? That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
You've got a couple outlier quarterbacks. Oh, and Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
He's the other one. He's been to three?
Three.
I mean, that's all you have in the AFC. Hey, break it up. Man, do I want to see the Chiefs win a Super Bowl? No. Would I mind seeing the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl and get beat by either L.A. or New Orleans? Not at all, man. At least it'd be something different to look at.
Fred Walker on Facebook, I will never root for the Chiefs. Any Raider fan should never root for the Chiefs. And then
rooting for the Chiefs, man.
Joe Riley, our buddy from Montgomery, Alabama. Yes, we have listeners in Alabama. So thanks, Joe, for watching and listening. We're going to step aside, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Raiders' groundbreaking of their new headquarters and facilities here in Henderson, Nevada. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
It's Dustin DeHart here with Nova Home Loans. Join me and Aaron Taylor, the real estate guy, and listen to Real Estate Live every Saturday from 11 to 1 on 840 AM News Talk Radio. 2019 is going to be fantastic, and Happy New Year's, Las Vegas.
CBS Sports Radio. This portion of Silver and Black Today is powered by the law office of Michael Troiano. Help us talk the Silver and Black. Call us at 702-889-5978. Here's Matt Gutierrez and your host, Scott Gulbranson, on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
Welcome back to Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM. Coming to you live every Sunday, all year round. Doesn't matter if it's football season. Well, it does, because it's always football season. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 12 months a year. Right, Matt? I mean, there's no off season anymore.
There's not. You unfortunately don't get games.
You don't get
for all 12 months.
That's exactly right. All right. Well, this segment, what we want to talk about is, of course, this week, Matt and I were fortunate enough to be out and cover the big groundbreaking of the team's new headquarters and practice facility in Henderson, the city of Henderson, which, if you're not familiar with the Las Vegas Valley, we have a lot of listeners all over the world and all over the country because Raider Nation is deep. It is right next to Las Vegas, the second biggest city actually in Nevada behind Las Vegas, so which isn't surprising since Las Vegas grew so much. But we were out there, and for the festivities and for the kind of meet and greet, there was 3 current players there: Derek Carr, Tahir Whitehead, and Justin Ellis showed up for the event as well, which was a first. We haven't seen a lot of current top-line starter players in Las Vegas, so you can see the Raiders are starting to make that transition. But what I wanted to do first was, there was some themes. One of the themes was family, because I think for people, remember, the stadium is the stadium. That's where all the memories are created, the games are played, and where we're going to go watch the Raiders play. But on a day-to-day basis, from the administrative assistant to the head coach, they work every day at their headquarters. And here's what Mark Bedane had to say about their new headquarters. And he shared a story about one employee and how getting out of the Bay Area and getting to Las Vegas, which is much more affordable, helped him. So here's Mark Bedane with comments on that.
About 8 months ago, I drove out to Inspirata here in Henderson to have dinner at one of our employees' homes. I've known him about 20 years. I've known him since he was in high school, and he's been with us about 15 years. Started as an intern and worked his way up in the organization. And I've watched him get married, and I've watched him start a wonderful family with 2 young children. And they'd been in their home maybe a few months, but you could tell how much it meant to him and his family to be in this fantastic community with families and parks. We talked about how his commute in the Bay Area was over an hour, and his commute here will be about 5 minutes. what it'll mean for him and his quality of life for him and his family. And as I left for the evening, he stopped me and he said, do me a favor, can you just say thank you to Mark Davis? Can you thank him for moving us here? We really love it here. And I share that story a lot when people ask me about the move and the stadium project and what it means for the organization. And I share it with you today to thank you and this community for welcoming us, for embracing us, and for giving us a home. Your city slogan is spot on, a place to call home.
All right, Matt. So there you go. I mean, I think that's what's lost a lot in the move is how it impacts. And I know you have a friend who works in the capacity for the Raiders and the organization that's not on the field all the time, has to work every day. And his story, I think, resonates with a lot of those folks in the front office. They're afraid to say it because they don't want it. They're not trying to insult people in the Bay Area. They're just saying, look, we're going to be 5 minutes from our new home. We have a great area to live. I can afford a house, and I can spend more time with my family.
My buddy makes about an hour and a half commute one way.
Wow.
Every day to get out to the facilities there in Alameda. And it's not necessarily distance, though, you know, the Bay Area is spread out, whether you're in Concord or Hayward or San Francisco even, or, you know, the Lower Bay. It's spread out quite a bit, but it's the traffic, man. We know California's crowded. It is an overpopulated area when you get around those big cities. And it's tough to get to and from sometimes. You get on those freeways, and it takes him a while to get there. He's out here a lot. I've been buddies with him since 2001 probably. It's been a while, and he comes out here all the time, and he loves it here. And just driving around, I'll pick him up a lot of times, whether it's now from the stadium side or groundbreaking or the new headquarters site. And just kind of driving around the area. We've looked at houses out there in Inspirata, Anthem, Seven Hills, places like that are close to the site. And that's one of his biggest things is, man, it's going to take me no time to get to work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have to worry about that. Basically 3-hour commute every single day.
I can't even imagine. I mean, I grew up in San Diego and so in California and lived there and saw it grow and the traffic get bad and the prices go crazy. So I understand it. And again, not a slam against California. It just is what it is. It's expensive to live there. Now, Badane also talked about the Raiders, notorious, right, for their kind of vagabond ways, not only with the moves and where they were and all that stuff, but also their headquarters. You know, they've moved headquarters when they moved from Oakland originally to L.A. and then back. There's been a lot of transiency even with that. And so here's what Badane said about the team finally having a true permanent home that's going to be built to their specifications.
The stadium gets most of the attention. It's where the memories are made on the field and where millions around the world watch their heroes perform. This right here is our home. We've had a few places to call home. They all hold a special place in our history. The Leamington Hotel, Edgewater and Doolittle facilities in Oakland and Alameda, Center Street in El Segundo, Harbor Bay Parkway in Alameda, and now our new home on Executive Airport Drive in Henderson, Nevada. Of course, we're going to try and get the name changed, Mayor March.
They've never had this before. I mean, from top to bottom, whether it was in Oakland, I mean, early on, they're sharing these small beat-down stadiums, just trying to find a place to play before they got the Coliseum built. And even then, you're playing on a baseball field. That's not your stadium. Even though that's where you play all of your home games, you're sharing it with a baseball team. Going to L.A., they're sharing it with the USC Trojans. And, again, the Coliseum's a cool place to go to watch a game, but it wasn't necessarily built for football. That's an Olympic stadium. If you remember back in the 80s when the Raiders were there, it had a track around it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not conducive for that NFL environment.
No, and as he mentioned that list of names too, Matt, it was about those locations too. Their offices moved. Even in LA, I think they had 3 different offices or 2. So for them, they never had the roots even in those markets.
Not easily accessible.
And not easily accessible away from the stadium. Now with this facility, they're a quick, maybe
with 10 minutes door to door,
10 to 12 minutes right down to the stadium. From my house in Southern Highlands to the practice facility literally took me 6 minutes the other day. So it's nice and close, which is big. Also, though, the thing that we have to say, and if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, you'll see it here in a second. Mark Badane talks about, too, that not only is this great for them because it's their true home and they're going to be close to it, but also the facilities and what it's going to be. He called it some of the NFL's finest with what's happening. And here's what he had to say about that.
The facility will be the finest in the league. 3 outdoor fields, 1.5 indoor fields, over 300,000 square feet, the finest facilities for our players, and a source of pride for the organization and the community. An anchor tenant for a growing area, one ripe for new development. We're excited about the growth and the transformation of this area, and we're proud to be a part of it.
There you go. I mean, and that's so true. I mean, if you look at it, and again, we're showing some video here from the that was shown at the groundbreaking, and you'll see the facility here in a second, the renderings. But Matt, this really is going to be up there with anybody's, perhaps even better, because they've been able to design it from the ground up to everything that they need.
We've seen a lot of talk with the UNLV football program around town about how big their practice facility is going to be as far as a recruiting tool goes. And it's because that's where you spend the majority of your time, especially when you're in college and you're on campus all day, every day. That's where you're going to go study. That's where you're going to hang out with your teammates. That's where you're going to get your work done. And then that's where you're going to practice. And when you have these amazing facilities and you're bringing these kids in, you show them that, yeah, we get to play in this shiny new palace, but most of your day is going to be spent here. That's what this facility is about, and it's not just the players. You just mentioned everybody that has to move to town, all of these executives, all of these employees, just everybody associated with this team has to come here. Where are they going to spend most of their day, every single day that they're going to work? It's going to be at this amazing facility, and like you mentioned, state-of-the-art, man. This thing is going to be incredible and huge. I couldn't believe how big those renderings were, man. It's going to be a big site.
And you're seeing the video right now, which shows the 3D exteriors of the facility. Remember, 300,000 square feet, $75 million, 3 full outdoor fields.
Is that a bigger site than the stadium site?
Yeah. It is also, again, it is going to be something. Oh, sorry, indoor fields. People ask about that because everyone except those of us that live here is really concerned about the heat for some reason. And they'll have 1.5 full fields indoors, as well as every kind of amenity, Matt. And we talked about it, the theaters to watch the film, to the offices, to lounges, to locker rooms, to the offices. I mean, this is the NFL, folks. And people in Las Vegas, if you've never either been to or lived in an NFL market, you don't quite understand the money and investment that is put into a facility like this.
Yeah, and do people not realize that the Cardinals play in Phoenix, Arizona, which is consistently 5 to 10 degrees hotter than Las Vegas is? As hot as we get,
well, I did the
Phoenix
math.
Gets hotter.
So I did the math here. Listen, we have average temperature in Las Vegas in August and October is 81 degrees. Miami is 84. Phoenix is 83. New Orleans is 82. So what's the difference?
Yeah, and we don't have humidity like Miami or New Orleans.
That's right. All right, when we come back, we're going to go to New Orleans and talk to Vinny Bonsignore about the NFC Championship game. You're listening to the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
The law.
CBS Sports Radio. Callers and guests on the Newsmaker line are brought to you by the Law Office of Michael A. Troiano.
Hi, this is Steve Wisniewski, and you're listening to the Silver and Black today.
Indeed you are. Welcome back. It is Championship Sunday here on the Silver and Black today. Of course, there is no silver and black in either of the championship games, but according to breaking news from our next guest, Vinny Bonsignore, there is all white involved, and that is the Rams are wearing all white today as they meet the Saints in the postseason for just the second time. Of course, the last time they met was when the Saints defeated the Rams 31-28 in the 2000 NFC wildcard playoffs on December 30th of 2000. So it's been a little bit. Vinny, how's New Orleans treating you, buddy?
Everything's great. It's already a crazy atmosphere. You can feel the excitement and the atmosphere. There's a big game that's getting ready to be played, and it's to go to the Super Bowl. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, Vinny, I don't even care about the game, man. You've been down to Frenchman Street hanging out, enjoying some good jazz.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is the 4th time that we've been here since 2016. 3rd time this year. So it's getting a little old hat as far as New Orleans. It's been Steely, nothing but Steely focused on this game. And I know the players stayed, in a town not too far from New Orleans. They didn't even step foot into New Orleans, and they won't until their bus arrives here in a few minutes. So this is, fun time can wait. This is all about
all about business,
and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, they call Las Vegas Sin City, but having been to New Orleans a lot, I actually think it's much more Sin City than Las Vegas. But, Vinny, this game, if you look at this, the Rams, they've been to the NFC Championship games 10 times in their franchise history. This is the first time they've been there since 2001. Of course, we had last week an amazing performance. C.J. Anderson, Todd Gurley, the tandem at running back, and what they were able to do. This is the first time that two running backs teammates have run for at least 100 yards each in a playoff game since 1997. How has that changed the dynamic? I mean, you're around these guys. You say they're really laser focused on what's going to happen, but that addition to C.J. Anderson seems like it was really an amazing move and a great shot in the arm right at the end.
Yeah, and it was, all these various dominoes had to fall for that to happen. First, Malcolm Brown got hurt. He's the backup running back to Todd Gurley. Then Todd Gurley got hurt against the Philadelphia Eagles, and there's C.J. Anderson sitting there, waiting for a call, and the Rams made that call, and there's been no looking back since. And it also coincided with the Rams saying, hey, you know what, we need to get back to what we do, and that's running the ball and building a strong run game and then letting our pass game play off of that. That's what happened in their last two regular season games against the Cardinals, against the 49ers. I know people say, well, it was the Cardinals and 49ers. Well, the reality is they could have beaten those two teams any which way, but they decided to go back to their roots, which was pounding the ball and then throwing off of that, and it got them back on track. So it wasn't necessarily who they played, but how they did it, and they carried that right over to the Dallas Cowboys game. I felt like they were poised and ready for that moment at the Coliseum, and I really believe that they're ready for this moment as well.
It's funny, Vinny, because you have these two teams that are powerful offenses. Drew Brees is always up in the top when it comes to quarterbacks in the NFL and scoring, and then you saw. I think the highlight of the season for the Rams, as far as what everybody's going to remember, is that Monday night game against the Chiefs and both teams scoring in the 50s. But at the same time, you have two teams coming in that have pretty good defenses and both like to control the clock. With these run games, do you think these two teams are going to be able to establish run with guys like Kamara and Gurley and Anderson and Ingram, or is this going to be that, you know what, it's indoors, it's a fast track, defenses are going to take a back seat, and we're going to see some high flying?
I think you're going to see some high flying. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams took some chances downfield early on. They know that the Saints have been watching these last 3 weeks to see, how they've been going about their business. And so you would expect the Saints to kind of load up on the run a little bit to see, hey, can we build a wall in front of Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson and that really good offensive line? And I expect the offset to that to be Sean McVay letting Jared Goff throw the ball downfield a few times early on. So it could get explosive early on. And I think, Jared is going to have to make 3 or 4 big-time throws in this game. I think he's ready for that moment. But I'm as curious as anyone. I want to see him do it on this kind of a stage.
Well, and Vinny, again, we're talking to Vinny Bonsignori from the Athletic Los Angeles, who is in New Orleans to cover today's NFC Championship game between the Rams and the New Orleans Saints. Now, Vinny, the Saints, let's look at them for a second here. They advanced to the championship game for the 3rd time in their franchise history. Also, it's the second consecutive season they captured the NFC South, the first time in their franchise history that they actually won back-to-back division titles. This Saints team, I mean, Drew Brees gets a lot of attention, and in my view, he should maybe get some more as being considered one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But this team kind of, I think, has snuck up on people, but they have put together a really remarkable season, and it's going to be, I think, a tough game for the Rams. But talk about the Saints and where they might be able to expose, even on the Rams, who to me, have their defense has really stepped it up at the right time. But what are the Saints going to have to do to take down this Rams team?
Well, I think it's going to be, obviously Drew Brees getting on track, and especially early on, to try to get this crowd into it. They're going to be into it, but if he could send them into a frenzy, with some big strikes early on in this game. I think you're going to see Alvin Kamara. I think you're going to see obviously Michael Thomas. But it's going to be the Drew Brees show. This is his team. This is his moment. I know that everybody in New Orleans, and the state of Louisiana, and this region, wants to see Drew Brees get back to the Super Bowl at this age, at this stage of his career. It would just put, a cherry on top of a Hall of Fame career. But the Rams know that. And so, they want this to be their moment. And there's a lot of compelling reasons why it could be the Rams' moment and vice versa for the Saints, which to me makes this such a fascinating matchup.
Vinny, you mentioned Goff. You think he's ready to make those big throws, to make those big plays. He seems kind of, like he's a pretty cool head when he's out there on the field. But if the Rams have to rely on Goff, if this does get into a shootout in New Orleans, in the Dome, a guy like Drew Brees, can Goff carry them all the way? Is he at that spot where he can contend with a guy like Brees in that type of shootout?
Well, what's really interesting to me is if you look at Goff in this building, he's put up really good numbers. And in November when they fell behind by 21 points, and if you look at that game, there was just like a 5-minute stretch right there where it got away from them. They didn't get a call on a fake field goal that, I think a lot of people thought that was a first down. They were going in, I believe, to tie it up at that point. It set up the Saints to score another touchdown, go up by 14, and then Goff threw an interception in the Rams red zone. All of a sudden, it's a 21 or 28-7 game, I believe it was, at that point. So it got away from them right there, but he brought them back, and he played brilliantly in that second half. Really, from about the last drive of the second quarter on, he played really well. Went toe-to-toe with Drew Brees. And if you go back to his second start of his career, what's interesting about that, which is here in this building, and he made some unbelievable throws in that game. They lost. They got killed, basically. That was the Sean Payton going back after Greg Williams game, and, celebrating on the sidelines every time he stuck a dagger in Greg Williams' heart defensively. But if you look at Jared in that game, he played a really good game. And that was the game that Sean McVay really keyed in on when he was deciding, all right, what team do I kind of want to go to here? What quarterback do I want to, cast my future with? And he always points to that Saints game as like, I saw so many things on film by Jared Goff in that game that convinced me this is a guy that I want to, coach. This is the guy that I want my first head coaching job to be with. So he believed in him from watching that tape. And so I guess what I'm saying is this building hasn't been unkind to Jared Goff. They haven't won, but he's put up some really good numbers and played really well. So I don't expect the surroundings or the atmosphere to really, get to him. It could. I'm not saying that it won't, but I don't believe that it will.
Vinny Bonsignori from The Athletic in Los Angeles. Vinny, we got about a minute left with you here. And for me, one of the keys, I think, and for the Rams to go in, because I think you're right. I think both teams are going to do their share of scoring. But this Rams defense, you wrote about it this week on The Athletic, how they might be peaking at the right time. What are they going to have to do to contain as much as possible Drew Brees and give them that slight edge that will help them get that win and get back to the Super Bowl?
I think it's all about disrupting Drew Brees. You don't necessarily have to take him to the ground, but, get people in his face, get outstretched arms in front of him. He's not the tallest guy. So if you have to make him kind of step off a little bit from his position, from his comfort zones in the pocket, and make him have to throw over people that are disrupting him, I think that they got a chance to make life just a little bit difficult enough where it's going to affect the outcome of this game. So, and when you look at this defense and what I saw, especially in that Dallas game, was you start looking at the individual talents they have on this team, and you start thinking of it this way if you're the Rams. Hey, all those guys, all those star players that they brought in here, Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters, Ndamukong Suh, Dante Fowler Jr., who's added a burst off the edge, and Aaron Donald, obviously the guy, the holdover, Michael Brockers. If those guys play to their individual talents 2 more times, or at least 1 more time, let's just say today,
quick prediction,
have an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl.
Quick prediction, Vinny. Who you got?
I got the Rams winning 31-21.
There you go.
Wow, 31-21. Vinny Bonsignori from The Athletic in Los Angeles, live from New Orleans. Thanks for joining us, Vinny.
All right, guys, have a good one. Enjoy the game.
You too, man.
Thanks, man. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit of Raiders draft and mock draft. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio.
The only way to take Silver and Black today with you is with the radio.com app. Download it today and search CBS Sports Radio 1140 in Las Vegas and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
That's right, radio.com, like our buddy in Montgomery, Alabama, who's listening to us live right now, as others are. We have a lot of folks in the military who listen to Silver and Black today. Thank you for your service as well. And we're going to switch gears now and get back to some Raiders football and talk a little bit about the draft. First, I just want to remind everybody, too, I know a lot of folks have tomorrow off. It is Martin Luther King Jr. holiday tomorrow. Great man, and we honor his memory by taking the day tomorrow. Lots of parades. I know there's a parade here in Las Vegas. that our sponsor, the Local 872, Laborers Union's very involved with. So enjoy your day off and reflect, especially after what we've seen over the last several weeks and how people are treating each other. Listen to some of his messages, and perhaps you could learn from that. All right, let's get to the Oakland Raiders / Las Vegas Raiders, whatever they may be this year. Mock draft. So a lot of the mock drafts have been updated due to the fact that we have players who have now filed early to come out of the draft, and we talked about that last week a little bit. But if we look down the line, Matt, and this is just kind of an update of projections, including several from our own CBS sports folks, Chris Traposo has what we had. Kelly Kreiner, our draft analyst, wrote a couple weeks ago that he had Quinnen Williams from Alabama, the defensive tackle, going to the Raiders. Chris at CBS Sports also has him there. Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports, same. Dane Brugler, who we've had here on the show as well with The Athletic, is a draft analyst. He has Josh Allen, the edge rusher from Kentucky. Walter Football has Ed Oliver, and SB Nation, Dan Kadar, has Quinnen Williams. You know what? It's hard to argue with Quinnen Williams if he's there, Matt, at number 4. What is it about Williams you think that has captured, and why analysts, fans, a lot of fans, think that he's the perfect fit for the Raiders?
Because you need a middle push. I mean, yeah, you have to have edge guys, but we saw it time and time again with Khalil Mack, as great as he was off the edge. If you can't get a middle push, all the quarterback has to do, especially a smart quarterback that understands where he's at on the field, all you need to do is step up into that pocket. That's why they call it a pocket. You form that pocket around him. He's able to step up into it and make a good throw. So you have to have more than just a solid edge rusher. The edge rushers get all of the pub because they're on the outside. They're visible. You can see them in space. You see the moves they put on guys, and they generally have those highlight-style sacks, right?
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
that's what you get out of that. But you have to have a middle push from that defensive front. And, you saw a little bit of it from Mo Hurst this year and from P.J. Hall, but you have to have more. It's got to be consistent. That's why Williams and Ed Oliver and guys like that are so high up on draft boards, especially when it comes to teams like the Raiders. I think Josh Allen is fine, man. I mean, you do need edge rushers, so that's not a bad pick either. Clelin Ferrell from Clemson, another guy that everybody's talking about.
Yep.
I want to go to Mel Kiper. What the hell is Mel Kiper doing? Have you seen his mock?
I did. I'm tracking all of them.
Where is he go? So he's got Greedy Williams, the cornerback out of LSU,
right?
The number 4 overall pick.
Well, to the
Raiders.
What he's doing, Matt, is he's projecting based on John Gruden's activity from 10, 15 years ago.
Okay, well,
which is not indicative because it changes. The team has different needs.
Shouldn't he be projecting this current roster that the Raiders are throwing out there and where their biggest holes are?
Well,
number 24, he's going Marquise Brown out of Oklahoma, wide receiver.
Right.
Wide receiver.
Which there are others. Yeah. So if you look at that, Matt, a couple things since you bring that up too. Number one, though, with Quinnen Williams, I think there's a good chance the 49ers take him at number 2. Which would change, but Josh Allen
that
should
opens
be there.
up Josh Allen at
Unless
most
the Jets
likely
take
for
him.
maybe.
then it's a whole different thing,
right?
But yeah, so if you look at the rest of the picks there, Matt, and what they might be doing, and Kiper,
he's got a tight end going at number 27, dude. So in the first round, he's got a cornerback, a tight end, and a wide receiver going to the Raiders for a team that needs defensive line help, linebacker help, defensive line help.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Although I will tell you that in round 6, I think the Raiders will take a tight end.
Round 6, man.
Exactly.
For a team
Not
that is
27.
this bad defensively to go tight end at number 27 overall,
never
get
gonna
out of
happen.
here.
Never going to happen. But I do think so. Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen. If it's not Quinnen Williams, Josh Allen. I mean, I don't know if most of the people out there saw him in the Citrus Bowl. But Josh Allen was remarkable in the Citrus Bowl, did an amazing job, and was fantastic. And
it's funny how far Ed Oliver has fallen, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was a consensus number 1 defensive guy to start the season, and now he's fringe top 10 in a lot of mocks.
I've seen a lot of people complain about Quinnen Williams saying, well, he's only played 1 year as a starter because he's a sophomore. He didn't start his freshman year. I don't care. He's got the ability to collapse the pocket. You talked about it, Matt. Everybody's focused on edge rushers. Raiders need edge rushers. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. They need them. But if you can collapse, he's a one-man pocket collapsing machine, Quinnen Williams. So I don't think you pass him up
there with Mo Hurst.
Oh,
And, I mean, let's be honest, man, you got to have depth. You have to rotate those guys. I mean, you see the Eagles do it. They rotate 8 guys on that defensive line and keep bodies fresh all day long. Ask any left, right tackle, guard, center in the NFL if they want to face a fresh body every 2 or 3 plays. No way.
Now, some of the other mock predictions that we've seen here from the same guys I mentioned from CBS, from The Athletic, Walter, and SB Nation, they do have, to me, you need to get a linebacker, too. So they have Chris Traposa at CBS Sports has Devin White going at number 24 to the Raiders. Possible. But then they also, 3 of the 4 actually had, or actually say 4 of the 5 had a wide receiver at the number 27. Now, they have N'Keal Harry, who I'm very familiar with my daughter going to ASU. I'm a big fan, Matt. I don't think he'll be there, so I don't think they need to worry about it, and I think they'll end up. And then the one that surprised me was Walter Football had the Raiders taking Alabama running back Damian Harris at 27. I don't see that at all. I think they're going to go all defense unless somebody drops precipitously and there's somebody there.
They have to go all defense, man. If you're going to draft, you have 3 first-round draft picks. I understand that the Dallas and the Chicago pick aren't where you wanted them to be, but you have 3 first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
And your absolute most glaring need on this team is on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
You have to fill at least 3 holes there in that first round.
Right.
I mean, and you can find. This is a deep receiver class. You can find receivers in this draft. You can go out and find a free agent. You can bring pieces in to help fix things outside of the draft itself. But you need impact guys on the defensive side, guys that you can plug in and play immediately.
Well, and I think a guy that's dropped a little bit, but I still like Montez Sweat from Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. He's an edge rusher they could bring in.
Seen him on a couple drafts for the Raiders late in the first round as well.
And I think, too, Matt, I think the Raiders, not only will they probably go all defense in the first round, that first pick in the second round, I think, will be another defensive
that's like,
player.
what, number 30,
35?
35? There you
35. Go. And we projected at silverandblacktoday.com that it would be Devin Bush out of Michigan if he's there, which I love Devin Bush. Mm-hmm. Because this team, we talk about edge rushers, we talk about inside, they need linebackers too. This team has not been able to find linebackers for more than a decade.
That was the Reggie miss, man. A linebacker himself, and he couldn't find a good one to plug in there.
That's right. Okay, it's time to step aside. We are getting a lot of comments on YouTube. We'll get to those on the draft here in a second. When we come back after the top of the hour sports update, we'll be joined by Sean Levine from 610 Sports Kansas City. He'll help us preview the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs and the Patriots. You're listening to the Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
The most in-depth coverage of the Silver and Black as they set their sights on Las Vegas for 2020. Live from the CBS Sports Radio 1140 studios, it's Silver and Black today. Join the conversation by calling 702-889-5978. Now, here's Scott Gulbranson and Matt Gutierrez.
Welcome back, everyone, Las Vegas and the world, listening on the radio.com app. This is Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m. in Las Vegas. We're going to switch gears now. And, of course, we talked earlier in the first hour about the New Orleans Saints and the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC Championship game. And now we're going to switch over to the AFC Championship game. 2 teams that, for Raider fans, either one of them is hard to cheer for, but neither is going to walk away losing. I mean, somebody's going to win the game, right? So we want to talk to somebody out in Kansas City, and that, of course, is going to be today our man Sean, the Sports Machine Levine from 610 Sports in Kansas City, who's fresh off a trip to Vegas. How you doing, Sean?
I'm good, man. Yeah, Vegas was awesome and welcoming, as it always is, except for, I came out there for the nice weather to get away from what has been a bunch of rain and snow and, of course, 3 straight days of rain. But besides that, they took a little bit of my money, had a great time.
Well, they do that on purpose because they want you to stay in the casino and they want to take your money because thanks to guys like you, Sean, we don't have state income tax. So thank you for your contribution to my.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
All right. Well, let's get focused here on the game today. Of course, it is a big day in Kansas City. The Patriots and the Chiefs, they're meeting in the postseason for just the second time. The last time was, of course, when New England won 27-20 in 2015 or after the 2015 season. The Patriots, we know all the daunting numbers, helped by the fact that they play in the weakest conference or weakest division in football, of course. 8 consecutive AFC Championship games, 10 consecutive division titles, 13 conference championship games for Bill Belichick. But the Chiefs have just kind of turned the league on its ear this year, Sean. How is the team looking? How is it feeling? What's the mood going into this game against the Patriots and Tom Brady?
No, Kansas City is absolutely wild. Guys, this is the first time that the AFC Championship game has been held at Arrowhead Stadium, which is kind of hard to believe.
Wow.
You were alluding back to that playoff game a few years ago. The Chiefs have gone toe-to-toe with the Patriots a handful of times, and quite frankly, the Chiefs might be the one team that the Patriots fear. I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds wrong. I know that sounds taboo. But if you think about the last few times these teams have met, this year, it took a 40, I think the final score was 44-41. So the Chiefs scored 41 points and lost that game. It was the worst quarter, the first quarter of that game, that Patrick Mahomes played the entire season, and the game was in New England. If you think about the game before that, the first game of the season last year in New England, Kansas City pants the Patriots. A couple of years before that, they came to Arrowhead. It was a Monday night game. Arrowhead was nuts. The Chiefs won that game also, and then the playoff game that you alluded to. So Kansas City's gone toe-to-toe with this team, and I'm not trying to pretend like Tom Brady isn't the greatest quarterback of all time because he is, or Bill Belichick isn't the greatest coach of all time. But if we're talking about the right here and right now, who's the better quarterback, which oftentimes decides who ends up winning the game, for my money, and of course I'm wearing the red shades right now like the entire town is, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes over Tom Brady.
Sean, Matt Gutierrez here. Let's talk about all the attention is on the quarterbacks, like you just mentioned. The Chiefs, throwing up 35 points a game this year. The offense was so explosive, and the defense just never really found footing throughout the course of the season, giving up almost 4 touchdowns a game. Here come the Colts last week, who were scoring almost 4 touchdowns a game, and the Chiefs completely shut them down. Only 13 points given up to Andrew Luck and a team that looked like they were steamrolling on their way to a nice playoff run. Now you have New England coming in. They average about the same as the Colts did. What did the Chiefs' defense do differently last week, and how can they turn that into success against the Patriots?
Man, I wish I knew. This is the defense that, as you mentioned, everybody's been talking about this offense, and they're now the third team in NFL history to average over 35 points per game. It was the Tom Brady, Randy Moss Patriots in the first year that Peyton Manning went to the Broncos. The only other 2 teams in NFL history to average 35 points per game in the regular season. But the truth is, guys, the defense was equally as bad as the offense was good pretty much this entire year. And then something's happened in the last couple of games where they've only allowed 9 points over the last 8 quarters. How are they going to do that against the Patriots? Damned if I know.
You can't count the Raiders game, Sean. You know the Raiders don't have much to speak of right now. So throw that one out. We'll ignore that. But the Colts one, that was impressive.
Well, well, Sean, the thing with this game, of course, is the experience and we saw how Bill Belichick schemed and planned and destroyed the Chargers last week. Now, I'm not saying I thought the Chargers, even though they were 12-4 and close to the division without the Chiefs there, they would have won it, of course. But I never looked at them as a big enough threat to maybe up there. I really wanted them to go in there and beat the Patriots because we all wanted to see the Patriots lose. But this team with the Chiefs, and you look at Patrick Mahomes, of course, 50 touchdown passes, ties Tom Brady's record from 2007, only bested by Peyton Manning with 55 in 2013. But this kid is so poised, and we talked about it with your coworker there, Carrington Harrison, earlier in the season. If there's anybody I think who can go toe-to-toe with Brady at this point, even on a big stage with less experience, it's Patrick Mahomes because of his attitude and his demeanor.
It's insane how calm and comfortable this guy is for. Oftentimes on our show, we always call him a rookie quarterback, and you know how the people love to text in the second that you say something factually incorrect. Okay, actually, he's a second-year quarterback. Well, technically true, but he's a guy that sat behind Alex Smith all of last season. And for a guy that this is his first full season of NFL play, what do they always say? These guys have to get used to the speed of the game. It took him about 5 minutes, talking about Patrick Mahomes, to get used to the speed of the game. I've got the stats here in front of me, guys. Right out the gates against the Chargers on the road, four touchdowns, no picks. Week 2 on the road against the Steelers, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had 13 touchdowns before he threw an interception. He finished with 50 touchdowns against 12 picks, and it's his poise, man. It's the way that he's able to read routes because this team has so many options. I remember, guys, heading into the season, the one question that I had, pretty much the entire city had, was how long is it going to take for the quarterback to catch up with the rest of these guys? Because if you think about it, Travis Kelce is in his prime, right? Year 5 or 6. We knew that he had a chance to do what he ended up doing, which is have, 11, 12 touchdowns, 1,400 yards. Tyreek Hill ended up being a top 5 wide receiver. Heading into the season, Kareem Hunt was coming off of a rushing title. So we all knew this offense was going to be really, really good, perhaps all-time good. It just depended on how long it was going to take Patrick Mahomes to catch up with it.
Yeah, and Sean, I mean, you talk about the weapons. The Chiefs, six players in the Pro Bowl, of course. You have Eric Fisher, D. Ford, and then offense, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and Anthony Sherman as a fullback. I mean, that's the thing. If the Patriots, I think that's where the issue is going to come for them, right? And it's an advantage to the Chiefs versus where New England's at right now with their offense is you want to double up Kelce. Then you're freeing up Hill and you're freeing up the running game even more, and Mahomes has a lot to work with. Do you think going into this game that the matchup between those two, again, favors the Chiefs much more than it does the Patriots?
Oh, absolutely. And you mentioned all those Pro Bowlers. How about Chris Jones, guy who had a sack in 11 straight games? No, you got it right. Not named a Pro Bowler somehow. And with the loss of Kareem Hunt, somehow the running game by the numbers guys has actually gotten better with Damian Williams. So you're exactly right. This team just has so many weapons, but you nailed it. Travis Kelce is the key to this team. Travis Kelce has really been the key to this season. He's kind of been the outlet for Patrick Mahomes because, Tyreek Hill looks really good streaking down the field, and when he's healthy, which is not very often, Sammy Watkins, I guess, provides a service. I remember heading into the season, I said he's the most overpaid decoy in the history of the NFL. And I'm not
yes, sir.
He makes $15 million a year,
Unreal.
But he does serve a purpose. So Pat just has so many weapons. The way he's able to spread the ball around, that to me has been one of his most impressive traits. That nobody's complained, nobody's gone to the coach and said, "Put me in," or "I want more playing time," or "I want more balls," because Patrick Mahomes has been the master of spreading around the football.
Sean, previewing this season back in or over the summer, my biggest thing was how does this Chiefs team expect to take a step forward right away when you get rid of a guy like Alex Smith, who is known as the game manager, takes kind of the safe throws a lot of times, but is a smart quarterback and is able to keep your team in it no matter what. And you bring in this young kid who was unproven, hadn't really had any snaps in the NFL yet. How much credit do you give to Alex Smith last season in kind of mentoring Patrick Mahomes, and was he that kind of guy? And now you see what Mahomes has become.
I'm not sure that around here we give enough credit to the way that the Chiefs and Alex Smith played out last season, because oftentimes, especially nowadays, contracts are so big, the quarterback's such an important position, these guys just get thrown right into the fire, and sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. And then we see the other end of the spectrum where it's Aaron Rodgers and he sits a couple of years, but Brett Favre's not really interested in mentoring him. Alex Smith kind of understood the situation, and let's not sell Alex Smith short. Alex Smith is the 4th most winning quarterback. When it comes to wins in the last 5 seasons, Alex Smith is number 4. I guess that was 4th. My stats are a little bit off. But the guy won a heck of a lot of football games. He was a really good quarterback, and he was a really good dude. He understood kind of his position and the new guy. There was probably, I would say, heading into this year, guys, believe it or not, 1 in 5, maybe 20% of Chiefs fans that thought, we got a pretty good thing going. We won the division back-to-back seasons. This team still had Alex Smith under contract. Remember, they traded him away, and they got assets for him, so they could have kept Alex Smith. They decided to pull the trigger and go with Patrick Mahomes, and
it worked out.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to say, that turned out to be a good decision.
All right, Sean Levine, we got about 15 seconds left with you here. Prediction on today's game. I think I know where you're going to go, but what do you think?
I think the Chiefs are going to roll them up, guys. The Patriots are just a different football team on the road, and the Chiefs are very comfortable against this team head-to-head. It's going to be a shootout. The Chiefs don't stop a lot of teams. Nobody stops New England, so they're going to get their points. But then again, nobody stops the Chiefs. You want to score, I'll give it to you. Let's go Chiefs 38, Patriots 28.
Man, wow. my hatred for the Patriots runs deep because that actually made me smile. I can't believe how much I hate them.
By the way, guys, that's a cover.
Oh, that is true. Sean Levine, the Sports Machine, 610 Sports Kansas City. Thanks for being with us, buddy.
See you guys.
All right. Again, Sean Levine, appreciate it, live from Kansas City. Step aside. We'll be back right after this on the Silver and Black today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
This is Mark Bedane, president of the Raiders. You're listening to Silver and Black today.
All right. Mark Bedane brings us back in. Thank him for talking to us. Of course, we had that story, Matt. The team lowered the prices of PSLs for people who already paid their deposit.
Yeah, and you know what?
Crazy.
I'm being told that the concession prices are going to reflect Atlanta. They're going to be a lot like what Atlanta has done, which if anybody's been out there or has heard stories about it, it's cheap food, cheap drinks. They're not trying to gouge everybody. I'm sure there are spots in the stadium where you get some higher end style stuff and it's going to cost you a little more, but you're not looking at $18 beers and $15 hot dogs or burgers. They've made it really affordable to go to a game out there. And from what I understand, and we'll see if it follows through, but the Raiders are going to follow that model and keep things a little more affordable for you.
Yeah, good news. And he was very open that it was just them being aggressive with pricing. So, all right, well, we're going out again here on the attorney Michael Troiano Newsmaker line down to San Diego, where we are joined again by Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Lee, how's your championship Sunday this morning, my friend?
I'm excited. Are we ready for football games?
Always.
You got the four best teams in the league. You know, these teams have a combined record of 54-16. That's pretty impressive. And obviously you got four franchise quarterbacks. It's too bad that the elements, the cold and the wind are going to play a bit of a role in the game at Arrowhead Stadium. It'll be perfect conditions and a fast-track meet, obviously, at the Superdome when the Saints go against the Rams. But, you know, we have gotten here with no shocking upsets. These are four of the best.
Yeah, and Lee, before we get a little bit of your comments and where you think those games are going to go towards the end of the segment, we want to first start with some Raiders news that's linked to the Chargers past and, of course, the team that you covered and were the voice of for so many years. A.J. Smith, this week, rumored to be joining the Raiders in the front office, perhaps as a special assistant to new GM Mike Mayock. Smith, of course, promoted to general manager of the Chargers back in 2003 when, unfortunately, John Butler died of cancer. He inherited a team and went 14-34 in the previous 3 seasons. And, of course, the Chargers went on a nice little run. They had 5 AFC West division titles, 8 consecutive seasons without a losing record until 7-9 in 2012. And, of course, him and Norv Turner were shown the door at the same time. Lee, you covered A.J. Smith for 9 seasons, I believe, even and longer if you consider that he was there with Butler. What can you tell us about A.J. Smith as the NFL executive and then some of the other intangibles, including his prickly nature?
Well, I enjoyed being around him. I thought he was colorful. I thought he was creative. I also thought he was combative. He did his first 3 years, if you go back and scroll through his draft picks, he really built something really special here. He drafted pretty well. Now, granted, he inherited the quarterbacks, but he drafted really well. Then he self-destructed. I'll never, for my life, be able to understand why he turned on everybody, why he treated his own players so badly, why he was so condescending to the working media that he'd been so cooperative with. It was Jekyll Hyde. And then obviously, you know, the coup d'etat and the firing of Marty Schottenheimer after a 14-2 season really destroyed his credibility in the community. That being said, I'm surprised he did not land on his job and get a second chance to be somebody's general manager. He did some consulting and scouting for the Washington Redskins, but he's really been off the radar completely. I think if you were to ask the bulk of the Charger fans left behind in San Diego after the franchise moved to Los Angeles, if you were to poll the Charger fans, you get real mixed reaction as to who he was, how he acted, what he did at the end, and the wreckage that he left behind. I don't know that he's coming in to be an upper-level management decision-maker. He's probably coming in to be a consultant to work with Mayock on player acquisitions and bring it to the table for John Gruden to make a decision. We'll say this, though. Philosophically, when he first started, he told me, it was really intriguing because I asked him how you scope out, how you draft, how you sign players. And he said, I want big-time players who played in big-time conferences and played in big-time games. And he did that for the first 3 years, and his first 3 drafts were spectacular. And then it got off track, and then it went downhill, and then he just, you know, he burned himself to death at the stake by the way he acted, and he lost the team, lost his job, and has really been out of football for an extended period. I still think he's a good football guy, but I'll never quite understand why he did what he did at the end.
Would a personality like that fit in a room with John Gruden and a guy like Mayock, who's such a great evaluator of talent? Could he come in there and, I guess, for lack of a better term, take a back seat and just be able to offer up opinion and look, this is what I think, this is a direction I like, and let the other guys take the lead?
Well, they're going to take the lead because I think it's John Gruden's team. It's not Mike Mayock's team. It surely won't be A.J. Smith's team. But I think if he knows his role and what his role is defined, it may well be that he's comfortable with that role. At the end of the day, he's been out of it for a while. So, and I thought he should have been hired much before this. Even though I fought with him, I just liked his approach to securing football players. But towards the end of his run, it was all about him, and it was not about his team. And I happen to think the general manager's role is to provide quality players for your coaches, and he didn't do that. And at the end, it really, really got nasty. But I think his role will be defined, and he won't be the decision maker, but he will surely give opinions and have input. And I think that's important because I think he knows players, and I think he knows players who can play at this next level. So hopefully, he didn't make a lot of mistakes here the first half of his career. The back end he did. Hopefully he'll do well if he comes on board as, quote, a pseudo-consultant, which I think he will.
We're talking to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. You can check him out, leehacksawhamilton.com. He always has great commentary there daily, so make sure you check it out. Yeah, I think, Lee, you saw it start to unravel. He let Darren Sproles walk away. He let Michael Turner. He let Vincent Jackson walk away. And that offensive line just grew terrible after the 2011-2012 season. To your point, I think it's an encouraging development if you're someone who wasn't sure about John Gruden as the talent evaluator. He brings in Mayock, and if he brings in A.J. Smith, who has had a record of, like you said, tail end, he had trouble, but early on, he obviously knows good talent when he sees it. And to me, that should be encouraging if you're part of Raider Nation.
Well, I think it is, as long as everybody's going to have strong input rather than just have to rubber stamp whatever John Gruden wants. With apologies in advance, that's what went wrong with the Oakland Raiders. Everybody had to kowtow to the stupidity of what Al Davis was doing on draft day, and Al Davis drafted a lot of bad players at the tail end. He got the Raiders into the spiral down effect that has dragged with them from Oakland now up to Las Vegas. I just think that AJ knows players and knows talent, and maybe his personal relationships will be better. I'll give you a couple prime examples. He fought with agents all the time. You got to deal with agents. They're part of the equation. You may not like them. You may not enjoy the sales pitch. You may not enjoy the pressure tactics and all that. But you can't sit at your desk and pound your fist on the desk in front of an agent, the player you're trying to sign.
No, you can't do that.
Give an extension to. And that stuff went on and on and on and on. And, he got rid of players here before their careers were really over. But in a sense, he created his own mess because he forced contracts on some players. He franchise tag guys when he did not need to franchise tag guys, and then he wound up blowing those guys out because he didn't want to pay them on the second contract. I like Eric Weddle. Eric Weddle's been a fine football player for a decade for the Chargers and the Baltimore Ravens. He gave Eric Weddle an $8 million a year franchise tag contract well before he deserved it. And then when the next contract came up, the starting negotiating point had to be $8 million because you paid him $8 million on the past contract, and then he berated Weddle, et cetera, and he created a lot of that junk himself as they went along. The same thing with the mishandling of the Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers relationship. They kept Brees. Brees walked as a free agent after getting hurt when they could have traded Brees a year prior because Rivers was waiting in the ring. There were a lot of player personnel things, some of them impacted by his management style and his personas. But that's when he was the decision maker. He comes in the front door when they get to Las Vegas. I don't believe he's going to be the decision maker. He'll have input. I still think he's a good football guy.
No, exactly. Thanks for that take, Lee. And you covered him for so long, so we appreciate that valuable insight. Now, with about the minute we have left, how are these two games going to work out today? Who you got in the AFC and the NFC?
Well, the Patriots are 3-4 on the road in postseason in Brady's history. They've not won a road playoff game since 2006. I'm talking about a playoff game, not a Super Bowl, not a neutral site game. So they've not had a victory since 2006 in somebody else's stadium, and they were only 3-5 this year on the road. Luckily, it's not going to be 9 degrees, and I don't think we're going to have significant wind. I think it's going to be football weather. So the matchup is going to be Brady against this blitz pass rush that Kansas City has. The other matchup, obviously, is Patrick Mahomes. When he gets to the line of scrimmage, I like to use the phrase, do you believe what you see in your pre-snap reads? Because I got to believe that there's no doubt that Belichick is going to try to confuse Mahomes with a lot of different things. He did it last week to Phillip Rivers when they beat the daylights out of the Chargers. There was a stretch in the second, third, and the fourth quarter. Rivers was 5 for 17 throwing the football. This is a quarterback who's completed 70% of his passes. Mahomes has sure got firepower. I don't think that New England can keep up. So I'm going to pick Kansas City to win, but I don't think it's going to be easy. And the other game, Drew Brees is 84-48 at the Superdome. And he's got Michael Thomas, and he's got the heavy-duty backs run and throw too. The Rams obviously are just laden with offensive talent. I'm going to be fascinated to see how much the Rams try to pound the ball with Gurley and C.J. Anderson.
And Lee, so we got a hard break coming up. Who you got in the Rams game? I'm
going to pick New Orleans to win it, and I got a New Orleans-Kansas City Super Bowl final.
All right, Lee. We'll have you back on again real soon. We appreciate it. Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. We'll step aside. We'll be back here on Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 a.m.
This is Silver and Black Today, live on CBS Sports Radio 1140. Here's your host, Scott Gulbranson.
The show is moving along. We are into the third segment of the second hour, which is always a fun segment because that is when we throw it to Matt with his Audible. And today's Audible, Matt, I know is really going to get people fired up. So we want them to queue up. We want them to call 702-889-5978. That's 702-889-5978. Our engineer, David Stepanian, will pick up the phone. He'll get you on the air, so give us a call, 702-889-5978. All yours, Matty.
You talk about other people being fired up. I'm already irritated just looking at this thing, man. So let's go back. Yesterday was a 17-year anniversary, if you want to call it an anniversary. That's usually a celebration, right? 17 years since the infamous tuck rule. Now, I know there's a lot of interpretation that goes into this rule, and a lot of people saying, yeah, the rule was dumb, but the call was correct. I disagree, man. And it talks about, if the arm is moving forward and the ball comes out, it's going to be an incomplete pass. We all know that. We all know what the play looked like. We all understand that part of it. Here's the most interesting part of the rule, in my opinion. If the quarterback drops or loses the ball at any other time, it is considered a fumble as if any other player had dropped it. Now, the rule talks about tucking the ball back to your body, which, if you've ever seen any quarterback in the history of the NFL pump fake, they have never, ever tucked a ball back to their body. That is right. That is essentially a loose interpretation of the word tuck. It's basically restarting your throwing motion is what it is. Yeah. If that were the case, if you had to take this for exactly what it is, and the tuck rule states you must tuck the ball back to your body, then every pump fake in the NFL followed by a fumble, whether it was 5 minutes after the pump fake or 5 seconds after the pump fake, it's essentially an incomplete pass, right? You never tuck the ball to your body. Only running backs do that. Only guys running the ball do that. You don't tuck it back to your body. What happened is Brady brings the ball back to his left hand. He's now holding the ball with two hands. Ball gets knocked out. It's a fumble. We understand that. Every Raider fan out there will tell you it's a fumble. That's great.
Yeah, no doubt.
But what has that rule done to the NFL? Think about the way that rule, that play, that incident back in Foxborough Stadium in the snow changed the course of the NFL, and not just these two franchises. Yes, this started the Patriots dynasty. That game was over. Beaker recovered the fumble. Tom Brady never wins that Super Bowl that year. He doesn't become the golden child. The next year, if you remember, the Patriots missed the playoffs. They didn't follow up that Super Bowl win until the following season when they started bringing in these free agents that went, hey, I'm going to go play for this Super Bowl winning coach and the Super Bowl winning quarterback. Brady was a backup quarterback to start that year. Drew Bledsoe was the guy, and then things fell into their lap.
Real quick, just an aside, you could argue that Tom Brady got very fortunate that Drew Bledsoe got hurt, or he's not even in that game. And who knows what happened?
He's fortunate Drew Bledsoe was still there because if you remember, Tom Brady didn't even finish the game after the tuck rule game in Pittsburgh. They went to Pittsburgh, Cordell Stewart and the Steelers, And Brady threw for just over 100 yards, no touchdowns. You had a Troy Brown punt return touchdown in that game. Bledsoe came in, threw a touchdown in that game, and they added a few field goals. Brady didn't win that game. He didn't even get him to the Super Bowl. The way that this play changed the course of the NFL, you now have a guy with 5 Super Bowl rings. It all started with that play. You have a franchise that traded their young stud, nowadays Sean McVay-style coach and John Gruden, traded him to Tampa Bay, and along with it, traded away a Super Bowl because, lo and behold, who do you play the next year in the Super Bowl but the guy who wrote your playbook? It just started this downward spiral for the Raiders, changed the course of the NFL. We're still dealing with the fact that who's playing today in the AFC Championship game, the New England Patriots.
All tracing back to that game.
We got somebody on the line?
Yeah,
good. I want to hear people vent or yell.
Wally,
I don't care what you do.
Here in Las Vegas, Wally, who had commented earlier that he was trying to call and couldn't get in. See, Wally, we got you on, man. How's it going? What do you think about the Tuck Rule game? Did it change the course of the NFL and of the Raiders franchise?
Dude, that call ruined my life, man. I hate to tell you that was terrible. Yeah, I hated that. That was awful. And then the morning of the Super Bowl, when I woke up and I heard Wisniewski went on his run to Tijuana.
Oh, no, that was that.
Those are 2 of the worst days of my life.
That was Barrett Robbins, not Wisniewski.
Yeah,
Wisniewski's a good dude.
But let me ask you this. If John Gruden is the head coach of the Raiders that year because he doesn't get traded to Tampa Bay, does he allow a guy like Barrett Robbins to just take off? Because Gruden doesn't put up with that kind of stuff. Nobody's going anywhere. Barrett Robbins is probably still there. We never had that situation. I'm telling you, this play, this play changed everything for the NFL and especially for those 2 franchises.
Now, Wally, you said earlier, too, that you had some stadium construction questions.
Yeah, I'm sitting here on the 4th floor of the Mandalay Bay looking at the stadium right now. I was just wondering if you guys could get a couple of the General Soup or somebody from the stadium project to come on and talk about it.
Yeah,
absolutely. You guys did that earlier this year, and it was really cool, and I really love your show, man.
Oh, Wally, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, we will do that. In addition to Tommy White from the Laborers Local 872, we also will have some folks on the stadium. Just for a quick update, though, stadium 32% complete. There's 850 people working on the site right now, and this time of the year is great weather because it's cooler. It's going to start heating up here next month and start getting into the 70s and then the 80s shortly after that. So it's going to get warm again, but they're not going to stop. They're jamming on it. But, and I wonder, you talk about the Tuck Rule changing everything in the NFL and the course of the franchise, because of what it did to the Raiders, what it did for the Patriots. It's hard to imagine, if that game goes the way it should have gone and the Raiders recover the ball, win the game, and go on to the Super Bowl, who knows what happens? Who knows what happens with ownership? Who happens with staying in Oakland? Who knows what happens?
The Raiders were the best team in the NFL for 3 years. They went to an AFC Championship game in 2000, and that was the year the Baltimore Ravens were the best defense maybe of all time. They weren't the best team. That defense was second to none. You can put them against any Buccaneers defense. You can put them against the 85 Bears. You can put them against anybody. That defense was just insane. And you had Saragusa with the big flop on Rich Gannon and threw his shoulder out. And, the Ravens went on to win the Super Bowl that year. The following year was a Tuck Rule game. You get rid of Gruden. That offense steps up even more and goes to the Super Bowl against, again, John Gruden. That Tampa Bay defense was great, no doubt about it. Their offense was okay, but you've got the guy who wrote your playbook on the other sideline. He also played scout team quarterback during practice in the week leading up to the Super Bowl because he knew Gannon that well. He knew their audibles. He knew their call signs. He knew everything there was to know about that. The Raiders had no shot in that game no matter what they did. Those 3 years, that team easily could have won 2 Super Bowls. That play changed everything.
Is there? Let me ask again. Thank you for calling in, Wally. We'll talk to you next time. Is there anybody else out there who disagrees, that thinks it was an incomplete pass? I doubt it, but if you want to call in 702-889-5978. But you look at it, and remember, for those, I was not a Raider fan growing up, so I didn't have any skin in that game. So looking at it objectively, I still believe it's the worst call in NFL history. I mean, okay, you could go back to another Raider play if we had Phil Villapiano on right now. He would say that the immaculate reception was deception, and the lack of a clip called there. But in this case, again, because of the impact on both franchises from that moment 17 years ago until now, is remarkable, and the fact that it never goes away for. And then you hear some people say, "Oh, get over it, get over it." Well, Raider fans won't get over it until they win a Super Bowl. That's the way I think.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happens.
It's like the Cubs with the Billy Goat curse, right?
Well, yeah, and I'll give you one that you may not care about as much now, but I know you did for a time. The 91 Final Four game against Duke, UNLV and Duke. Had you flipped the script there? Had you flipped those 2 years and Duke beats UNLV in the Final Four of the championship in 90, and in 91 UNLV had come back and beat Duke and won the championship, would we hate Duke the way that we hate Duke today? You would hate them in that, they're kind of like the Patriots in that they always win and we don't like them, but you would have already gotten your revenge. Not being able to get that revenge is kind of the biggest bugaboo in here, right? It just stays with you. You can't get rid of that. And you talk to any Patriots fan. Was it a fumble? It's very tongue-in-cheek when they give you their answer. They know it was a fumble. Even Brady after the game. And, I had a good friend of mine who's no longer with us. I called him the second that happened. The fumble happened and the Raiders recovered. He couldn't come to my house to watch the game, but we're on the phone and we're celebrating. And he goes, "Man, this is taking too long. I don't like this." He was a Raider fan. He died a few years ago. He was in his 60s, so he's an old school Raider fan. He had season tickets back in the LA days even. And he tells me, "Man, I've seen this too many times. This isn't going to go our way. This is just not going to go our way." He knew. Wow, he knew it was going to happen. And it's just it's unfortunate that these things keep popping up with the Raiders.
It's awful. Oh, all right. Well, sorry to bring up that on your Sunday. You probably spit out your coffee. When we come back, we're going to close out the show talking to Robert Walker from usbookmaking.com about odds and action on today's game and what might be in the Super Bowl. You're listening to Silver and Black today on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
Help us talk the Silver and Black. Call us at 702-889-5978. Here's Matt Gutierrez and your host, Scott Gulbranson, on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM.
Welcome back, Silver and Black, today here on CBS Sports Radio, 1140 AM. We are here every Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m., and closing out the show today, we wanted to bring on our good friend Robert Walker from usbookmaking.com. Robert oversees the daily sports operation for US Bookmaking. He's run some of the largest sports books in Nevada, including the MGM Mirage, Boyd Gaming, and Gentings in the Caribbean sportsbook operation. He's a true bookmaker. He knows it like no one else. Robert, thanks for joining us here on the Silver and Black today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, so I know it's a busy day for you, so we appreciate you taking some time off as you're sitting there, I'm sure, moving things along. But we look at these games today, and let's start with the Rams and the Saints. Saints, I think, still 3-point favorites. The over-under started up at 57. If you look at this game, the Rams clearly don't have to go play somewhere cold. They're going to play inside. We have a game from earlier in the year when these two played. What does that earlier game tell us, and where does it look like this one's going?
Well, I mean, we're a little heavy on the over, as you can imagine. This game is, with these four great offenses, you want to see good weather. I don't want to see weather, dictate what happens in these games. You want to see these prolific offenses. So this first game, I think, is, hopefully it'll be, as close as entertaining as the first one was. I doubt it. I think they'll make some adjustments. But right now, we're getting really good two-way on the game itself. We're actually at 3.5, and we haven't moved it. So we're getting good two-way at 3.5. We have moved that money line a little bit. The total, we're probably the highest that I can see. We're at 57.5, and we've kind of held that number for most of yesterday and today. But right now, a little bit heavy on the Rams money line, but really good, great two-way action on this game. Really both of the games. So, and we couldn't ask for a better outcome as far as who gets to the Super Bowl. So, so far so good.
Hey, Robert, Matt Gutierrez here. Good to talk to you again. When you guys are making these lines and you start to factor in the weather, everybody's talking about the cold. Does the cold really come into play, or is it the cold factored in with the wind when you guys are looking at this? Because I mean, these are two cold weather teams. They're used to playing outdoors. It's not like they're minus 30 out there. Is it more important that the wind is going to be pretty calm?
It's the wind, especially with these, four teams that are passing teams. I mean, the Chiefs and Patriots are clear passing teams. Brady doesn't throw down the field as much as he used to, so we kind of think, and we probably over-handicap this stuff, but we think, it favors the Patriots because they don't throw down the field as much. They dink and dunk a little bit. So, but clearly the wind is. But the problem with this game is when we put it up, we heard a polar vortex is in play, and then you have to look up what that is exactly because you're not.
You got to be a meteorologist to do this stuff,
right? So then the total went to like 54. And then they said, okay, it's just going to be really cold, and that'll be it. Because you're looking at cold, snow, wind, but really nothing wreaks havoc to these passers like wind. So that's the biggest event that you have. So right now we're at actually 56.5, 57, bouncing back and forth. So weather doesn't figure to be a factor, but it also affected all our player props. You put up a bunch of player props, Brady's, passing yards, Gronk's, receiving yards, whatnot, and everything else. So it starts to play havoc. So we didn't actually turn that on until I think Wednesday, which is later than we would have liked to. And so it really affects everything that you do on this game, especially the game itself.
Well, and again, we're talking to Robert Walker from usbookmaking.com. Robert, what about so I look at this game with the Chiefs and the Patriots. And the Chiefs, with what they've done this season and what they've done at home as a 3-point favorite, would this line be much larger if it was? I mean, it's hard to say this, I know, especially to kind of extrapolate theories out of it. But if it wasn't Belichick and Brady, would that line have been much bigger?
I think so. I think you have to respect them. You have to say you have to give them some deference, right? I mean, they've been there. I think this is 8 straight times. This will be they've been to the Super Bowl 2 straight times. I do think that we're starting to see, Patriot fatigue. I think, myself personally, I want to see the Chiefs win today, if we need them. That is, I should add. I would like to see the Chiefs, just because I want to see somebody new in the Super Bowl. I think a lot of people have that same feeling. They're tired. I think we saw that with Alabama, Clemson a little bit. There was some fatigue seeing the same matchup for the 3 out of 4 years, and I think it's the same with the Patriots. The Chiefs versus the Rams or the Saints is just a matchup that is made for player props. It's indoors on a fast track. You couldn't ask for anything better. So I think there'll be a letdown, and I normally wouldn't say this. I think there'll be a slight letdown if the Patriots get there just because of that. And we're seeing the point spread, at least. We're a little bit heavy on the Chiefs. Moneyline bets clearly favor the Patriots, so which we figured because they bet the dogs in both games no matter what the line is.
All right, Robert, before we let you go, because we know you're busy today, when it comes to the Super Bowl, you look at these 4 teams and the outcomes that might happen. What's the most favorable, or what is the best game that you guys see from your perspective to generate action, to generate interest from a betting perspective in the Super Bowl?
Well, we lament whoever gets in there because nobody cries like bookmakers. But it really hasn't mattered who's been in the matchup. But I can say, just from my point of view, I think the Chiefs versus either side is, it'll be about a 1-point favorite no matter who's in there. I think the Chiefs going, it'd be a high-scoring total in the 60s most likely. So I'm rooting for Chiefs, and I don't really care about the Rams or Saints. We look good on the future books. I'm sure other bookmakers have their opinion based on who they need in the future book, but I think any one of those 2 matchups. I'm partial to the Chiefs-Rams a little bit, just because I'd like to see these 2 teams, but I also love Breeze. So, I mean, it's just a great day to be a fan and a bookmaker, I think, and a bettor, of course, as it is.
Of course. All right, Robert Walker from usbookmaking.com. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate the time.
Oh, appreciate it. Any time now.
All right. Well, there you have it, Matt. Everybody's up to speed.
Go, it's game time, man.
We don't go gaming a lot on this show, but I thought it would be of interest today. So
you got Stepanian over there throwing the thumbs up. Our
engineer, David Stepanian, who also works in the gaming industry, sort of, right? But anyway, Matt, man, we're at the end of the show. It's the off season, but it doesn't feel like it, man. We just keep rolling through this stuff.
Man, it's not the off season until that Super Bowl's over with.
Predictions.
We just don't have any Raiders games.
Predictions today.
I'm going, despite my better judgment, I'm going Kansas City. That home atmosphere, I think, is going to be huge for them, and that team is they're hard to stop on the offensive side. I'm going Kansas City, and I'm going New Orleans, man. Give me the Dome. Give me Drew Brees. I wouldn't be upset if the Rams won. I think that's going to be a fun Super Bowl either way if Kansas City is in there, but I'm going New Orleans, Kansas City.
I think for the first time since the Raiders did it in 1983, a team from Los Angeles will be in the Super Bowl, and that is the Rams. So I'm picking the Rams on that side. It's going to be a close knockdown, drag-out type of game. And then I also like the Chiefs because we all want the Chiefs to win, even if you hate the Chiefs because, well, they're playing the Patriots.
Go away, Brady. Just go away, man.
Oh,
Done.
man, that's crazy.
Done.
All right. Well, again, for our engineer, David Stepanian, and for Matt Gutierrez, my co-host, thanks for bringing it today, you guys. Thanks to the callers for calling in as well. That's going to wrap it up. Make sure you stay connected with us. Visit silverandblacktoday.com. Follow us on Twitter, silverblack, 2 day. Check out podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you get it. For Matt Gutierrez, engineer David Stepanian, we sign off, but we never say goodbye, Raider Nation. Thanks for listening. Until next week, may the autumn wind always be at your back. We'll see you later, guys.
The